This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Becky Barnicoat. I am very excited Becky is here.
Wait, you said the wrong name.
Oh, what did I say?
You said Becky Barnicoat. You said my name is Becky Barnicoat.
Did I say my name?
Yeah.
180 episodes, and this is the first time I did
Don't
something.
worry, I completely relate. I'm so tired at the moment. I keep saying the wrong word. It's fine.
The funny thing is, I normally, when I want to say my guests, I always say my friends or my neighbors. So this is my Freudian slip that's been already happening, but calling myself with my guest's name is the first. Okay,
Don't worry.
Do this. Okay. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Tyler, and my guest today is Becky Barnicoat. I'm really, really excited Becky is here because I accidentally discovered Becky on Instagram many, many years ago and started following Becky, and she put so many smiles on my face and so many loud laughs when I really needed them. Becky, thank you for that.
Oh, that's amazing to hear.
Becky is a cartoonist and a writer, and she's published by The New Yorker, Grazia, The New Statesman, The Guardian, BuzzFeed, New York Magazine, Private Eye, Netflix, and more. And even more exciting, Becky published her first book, which just came out in March, called Cry When Baby Cries, which is a very honest account of motherhood.
Yeah, that's about it.
Of having babies. Wonderful book, Becky. I had so much fun reading that as well. Welcome. I'm super, super excited you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting.
Yes, because you, in your cartoons, you deal so much with motherhood and being a mother and pregnancy. So when I started following you, I thought you would be such a perfect guest. And I'm very excited the time is now.
Yeah.
Tell me, please, how does one become a cartoonist?
I always wanted to be a cartoonist from a really, really young age.
Really?
Yes. Even as a tiny child, I remember saying I want to be a cartoonist as early as I can remember. And I just drew all the time through my childhood. I was constantly drawing. And I worked really hard, even as a child, to kind of get better at it. I wanted to be as good as the cartoonists that I saw in books around my house. I was lucky that my mum and dad had quite a lot of collections of cartoons in the house.
Did you have a favorite one?
I was a big Gary Larson fan.
Okay.
I used to. Do you know his cartoons?
Yeah, I do. Yes, of course.
I just thought they were so funny. And we also had Charles Adams, the Adams Family.
Oh, I love Charles
collections.
Adams. I am a big fan of Charles Adams.
He's one of my favorites. And we had all the books of Posy Simmons, who is a big British cartoonist who was a huge inspiration to me. My dad had all the Tintin books. He went to a French school, so he had all the Tintin books. So yeah, I mean, I was really, really lucky to have all these. We had Peanuts by Charles Schulz.
Yes.
And I would just look at them and think, how do I do that? Copy the styles as a kid and try to get good at drawing hands. I tried to master different things like shoes or hands or horses. Still not good at horses. And yeah, so it was just a kind of a goal. Over the years, I kept hearing people say, that's not really a job. You can't do that. And those jobs don't exist anymore. You know, people aren't hiring cartoonists. That's an old-fashioned job. And I kept hearing this, and I heard it from art teachers at school who said, cartooning isn't real art. They didn't like my cartooning style. Then I went to art college after leaving school for a year, and the head of the art college said, cartooning isn't art. We don't do cartooning here. And then I just thought, oh, forget it. I just, fine. I'm not going to bother going to art school.
Okay.
I went to university and studied English literature instead. But I couldn't shake my habit, and I went to the student newspaper and I drew cartoons for them. And they were probably quite poor, trying to be like New Yorker gag cartoons, and just I was only just beginning to figure out who I was as an artist. And again, it just seemed like I wasn't gonna make this into a career. And I started to feel kind of tired of fighting for my dream, and all the paths seemed a little bit easier towards journalism. I was working as an editor on the student newspaper. I won a couple of student media awards, and got some work experience at the Guardian newspaper. And then I applied for a job, and yeah, I worked in magazines for 10, 12 years, I think.
As a writer, as a journalist, or
I
as
was
an editor?
a bit of all, yeah.
Okay.
I was an editor, a junior editor, and
Mm-hmm.
a commissioning editor, and I did a bit of writing here and there, which I did enjoy, and the cartooning was just pushed to one side. But I couldn't. It wouldn't go away. I started to suffer from insomnia and become quite anxious and depressed. And I think there was a big part of me that felt the job I was doing wasn't what I really wanted to do. And I maybe was never going to be quite good enough at it to really progress. And yeah, I started not sleeping and becoming really kind of miserable. And for some reason, I came up with this plan to wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and draw for an hour before work as a kind of dedicated sketchbook time to try and get myself back into drawing. And my insomnia resolved.
Oh, really? So it worked. You
Yeah.
managed to get up every morning at 6 and draw,
Yeah.
and you felt
I
better.
slept
How
the first night.
amazing that our
It's,
body sometimes signals to us when we're doing something wrong. Isn't that amazing?
I was really shocked. I didn't
Yeah.
start drawing again because I thought it would cure my insomnia. It was just a
Crazy.
consequence. And it kind of, I really was stunned by it. And I thought, whoa, like this is so important to me. If I don't draw, it's like I'm trying to kind of chain up a part of my spirit or kill a part of my
Yeah.
spirit, and it's
Yeah.
going to cause this kind of psychic distress.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it made me have a different relationship with art. Actually, I realized
Mm-hmm.
it was as essential to me as many other things in life, like eating. I have to eat, I have to exercise, and I have to draw. So it became part of my daily practice, and I was very bad at it at first, but I just worked really hard, and I kept plodding along, and eventually I'd get little commission to put a cartoon in a little self-published zine that someone was doing, and then I made my own zine and took it, and I got asked to draw comics for a music paper that was
Mm-hmm.
really small magazine in London, and that led to more opportunities, and eventually I managed to get the job as a weekly cartoonist for the New Statesman magazine,
Mm.
and it turned into a professional job.
Becky, can I just ask you, because this is such a beautiful and inspiring story of how we have to recognize what our path is and follow it, and how little by little we very often don't have patience and think everything should happen right now. This is a beautiful story of how you just start little step by little step. How long did it take from when you started getting up at 6 a.m. till you got your weekly column?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I don't know if I've done the maths on that.
Just approximately, it was years, months,
Probably
weeks?
5 years of,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. Probably
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
from age 25
Yeah.
to maybe I got that cartoonist job when I was about 29. Yeah, 29,
Okay.
30.
So
So,
this is so important to remember that it takes time, but
yeah.
it
Oh, God,
happens.
yeah. And
Yeah. It takes work and time and
yeah,
patience.
I was rejected. I
Mm.
failed. I was I wasn't good at it, but I just kept going. And I didn't know what it would lead to, but it just felt that I had to keep trying again.
So from there, so from the weekly column, how did I find you on Instagram? When did it start blossoming, and how did the book happen?
So after I got my weekly strip, a full-time job opportunity came up with BuzzFeed.com. I don't know
Oh,
if you
wow.
remember
Okay. Yeah.
that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
website that was
Mm-hmm.
huge for about 5 minutes,
Yes.
and they advertised a role as for a cartoonist and writer.
Yeah.
And I saw this job ad and I just thought, oh my God, this is my dream job. This is the job that everyone said would never exist.
Wouldn't exist.
And I remember getting this like feeling in my body like, I have to give this everything. This is the job I've always dreamed of. I can't
I
believe I've
love
seen
it.
it. So I did loads of test posts and pitched loads and loads of work and got a portfolio together, and I went for the interview, and I wanted it so much. I didn't want to appear desperate, and I
Mm-hmm.
tried to play it cool while being cute. But I got the job there. So I was
Mm-hmm.
then a full-time cartoonist. And while working for BuzzFeed, I started to draw cartoons about my life.
Mm-hmm.
They were interested in relatable content because that's
Mm-hmm.
what people love to share on the internet and share with their friends. And so I'd start to make cartoons and post them on Instagram. And I started an Instagram account. And luckily for me, it was quite early on. And so it was easier to get followers then. The algorithm was very gracious and favorable to anyone putting work up. You'd get 150,000 likes for any
Oh,
cartoon you
wow.
posted, and my follow count just shot up, and it was so very easy. And and so that's how Instagram started. But then I got pregnant and I had my baby, and I took a year off work for that. And I didn't post or draw for a year. I took a complete break from all work except for mothering. And when I came back, they'd tweak the algorithm, and it was incredibly hard
Mm,
to get likes, and
mm,
nobody saw your posts. And I
mm.
thought, okay, social media doesn't work for mothers or carers or parents or anyone that can't work for free for
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
every single
Yeah.
day. If
Yes. Yeah.
you have a life, you'll be punished.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I
guess
know.
I was quite jaded when I realized that, and I thought, this isn't a good relationship I'm in here. I'm working for Instagram for free, and they profit off my work. I get nothing, and if I have to have a baby, I lose followers, get punished. And I
Yeah.
thought, I still feel very, I feel, yeah, uncomfortable about it, but unfortunately, as an artist, it's still a really good way to reach
Yeah. Yeah.
your followers.
But tell me about the book.
Yes.
How did that happen? I love the title
Yeah.
so much. I don't know if everybody knows where the title. Can you quickly, just for people who don't know why it's cry when baby cries?
There's a there's a famous comment that people make to new mothers, which is sleep when the baby sleeps. And a lot of my friends would say, "Oh, someone said this to me, and I just can't stand it because I can't sleep. It's not how it works." And I started thinking about what we might be doing with the baby at the same time instead of sleeping. And I thought about all the things that I'd ended up doing, crying while the baby cries, drool while the baby drools, stare blankly into space while the baby stares blankly into space. And I kind of use these expressions as a way to capture the reality of being
Mm.
isolated at home with a baby. And it kind of maybe suggests a little bit of the dark side of that, as well as the humour.
I remember that was it a cartoon on Instagram? Can it be that I know it way
Yes.
before the book where you
Yeah.
were like, I don't know, roll on the floor when baby rolls on the floor,
Yeah.
drool
Trash
when
the
baby,
room.
yeah, yeah.
It was for the I pitched it to the New Yorker and they ran it
Okay,
cartoon.
okay,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's where
yeah.
it went viral, and I got an agent through that, and that led to the book. So
Oh, amazing.
the idea of the
Mm-hmm,
book was to turn those images into a full memoir that kind of
mm-hmm,
reflected what life is really like when you have a baby in
mm-hmm.
yeah.
But not only baby, you also talk about IVF and you talk about postpartum and you talk about miscarriage and you talk about something that was very, very new to me. I think I kind of realized it existed, but this grief for a baby, for babies.
For the time when your babies were babies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know my friends have it and my husband has it a little bit. I I'm totally immune to that.
Wow, that's interesting.
So it was very fascinating for me to read, to see that it's really a thing.
Yeah, I found it really, really overwhelming, really strong and really powerful. I I didn't know if I'd ever be able to have babies, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
gone through 3 years of IVF and IUI, and it was really dark time for me because I felt that I just wasn't going to be able to have this future that I wanted. And so when I had the babies, it kind of seemed unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I couldn't believe that I was being allowed to hold these babies and they were mine, and I loved so much about the experience of becoming a mum, while it was also very hard. And as they yeah, it was kind of intensely full of love and astonishment and pleasure, joy. It was so, this incredible intimacy. I think it's romantic. The
Mm-hmm.
love with your child. It's like platonic romance. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to explain to anyone who hasn't experienced it, but you are so in love. But it's a completely different type of love to the love you've experienced, with a partner. This is it's like accessing a new feeling. Maybe you could hark back to your love for your own mum. If you can remember the love for your own mother when you were a
Mm-hmm.
toddler or baby, and I can remember that, then it is similar. I think it's that love again, that complete connect. You feel like you're part of each other. So when the babies began to grow up, and I had so much joy in seeing them grow and change, every now and again I'd remember the baby they were or see a photo,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd
Mm-hmm.
find myself kind of just sobbing
Mm-hmm.
because also those moments of noticing them grow and change, you have you project to the future when you know they will become an adult, and that the child is a temporary, it's a
Form.
fleeting form. It's so it's so overwhelming, that idea that you have, your baby and your child are here for a short time and then they turn in something else, like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. And you love that caterpillar. You love the caterpillar more than, anything you've ever
Mm-hmm.
loved in your
Mm-hmm.
life. But yeah, I just think it's on a microcosmic scale, just the poignancy of life itself. It's like it doesn't last forever. And when you think about that, it's very emotional.
It's interesting because I don't. If funny, I'm must be one of the rare women who don't have this baby thing. I'm actually getting more and more excited about my son. I mean, I always adored him, but now that he's becoming growing and we can have conversations, and I see this grown up that he's going to be one day, and we can relate on a different, share different things. I'm so excited.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
have that as well. I definitely have that too. Two
Yeah,
sides to
yeah,
it.
yeah,
The looking to the future fills me with excitement,
yeah,
and I get this kind of emotion about time
yeah.
passing that I've just, yeah.
Becky, so I just want to mention again what's really fantastic about your book and your cartoons is this very truthfully showing the struggles of everyday life. The book is about motherhood, but your cartoons are just about simple struggles of everyday life. I just found one of the cartoons about the spring scarf that you wrap around your the cozy scarf, and it's these simple things that we don't even think about, and you present them to us and remind us that yes, this is a thing, and it's very funny actually, things we don't. So it's interesting when you talk about your work, you talk a lot about the art side, the drawing. But what I find fascinating is exactly that you have to be able and attuned to these little things, these everyday things, and recognize them and recognize the joy or the fun or the paradox in them and turn them into art. That is such a special talent. It's did you always have that? Do you have to practice it to be attuned to this? How do you recognize these moments of putting your spring, or you had something with the jackets, the spring jacket that always stays hanging on the.
Yeah, those moments, I think they're thoughts that kind of pass through your mind all day long, and usually you don't catch them. So since becoming a cartoonist, I just make sure to catch those thoughts when they come. I don't always remember to, but I've tried to get into the habit of putting a note in my phone when I think of one of those
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
one of those funny moments. I love anything that's a sort of moment of kind of existential kind of conflict in a really
Yes,
mundane moment of your day,
mundane moments. Yeah,
and I love that contrast. I just
yeah,
always find it really
yeah.
funny. So yeah, I just try and it's like practicing watching yourself think is how we work. I work as a
Exactly.
cartoonist,
Yeah, yeah.
remembering to.
Let's talk about mom.
Yeah,
Mom Katrina. And when you told me the name, I asked, is she British? Thinking
yeah,
maybe
she is.
she's
Yeah,
Russian or something, Eastern European. She's British.
yeah, British. Yeah. I know, and I said I can't remember why they called her Katrina, but I'll have to ask her again. I think
Yeah.
they just liked the name.
Tell me a little bit about her.
So my mum is one of three sisters, and her mum is one of three sisters. They're both the oldest of three sisters, and then my mum went on to have three daughters,
Seriously, that
and
was three
I'm
generations of three. Now
sisters.
I understand why in your book you were hoping for a girl with your third pregnancy. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of three sisters. So there was three sisters, three sisters, three sisters, and we always felt we're witches. And then I went and broke the spell with two
Oh,
boys. But I didn't hope for a girl. I
sorry. Maybe I
assumed
misinterpreted that.
I assumed I'd have a
Oh,
girl.
you assumed.
I
Okay. Yeah.
assumed I'd have a girl. I was really surprised when I had a boy and then another boy because I thought, hang on a minute, this magic is been going on for generations. There's no way this will end. Um, So my mum, I'm the oldest, and she had me when she was 26. And for her, among her friends who had mostly gone to university and were working in kind of professional jobs and were interested in their careers and advancing themselves in their careers, she was quite unusual to have a baby at 26, actually. There weren't many of her friends that did it at the same time. And she chose to do that. She wanted to have a baby and become a mum. And so she worked a little bit part-time. She had been working in publishing, and she carried on doing a bit of proofreading, I think. But mostly she became a full-time mum after having me, and then my sister 2 years later. And she was always happy. She always told us that she was glad and proud of that decision. Yeah.
Yeah. And once you moved out of the house, when you became bigger, what did she? Was she still happy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, when I tell you about the first thing I learned from her, I can talk about all of this a little bit more. But, she was a fully rounded, complex human. And so she wasn't, no one's always happy, but she was always happy with her choice of being a mum. And she had my other sister, so there's three of us, the youngest one when I was nearly 10. So there was a bigger age gap there. And after she got a bit older, mum did work part-time as a picture framer. So she did work, but she would always be able to pick us up and, take us to the park and swimming and, had dinner ready for us. So she was really, there for us and really present.
How is she doing now? Are your parents still married? Is she?
Yeah, I've actually moved to the countryside to live next door to my parents.
Oh, that's nice. Are
So
you
yeah,
literally next door or just
yes.
close?
So yeah,
Really?
I did that because we were on the other side of the country basically before. We were on the other side, way over in East London, and once we had the babies, it driving to visit mum and dad took us about 9 hours because
No,
we
did
had
it
to.
really?
Well, driving out of London would take 2 hours. because of the traffic. Then
Yeah.
you'd have to stop because the children were crying, nappies. It was awful. And I
Yeah.
thought, if we stay this far away, we're really not going to see them very much. And
Mm.
I just, then the pandemic happened and we were all, apart for a year. And I kind of had that, like, the pandemic just sent me into panic mode, really. I
Mm.
must be near my family, and we moved to be closer to them.
Is mom helpful with the kids?
Yeah, they are, but I think I remember having a conversation with a good friend of mine and saying, we don't, they're not able to babysit as much, and I wish they could, and maybe I was like moaning a bit. And my friend said to me, "Yeah, but we had children too late for our
Yeah,
parents to be
I know.
babysitters," and I was like, "Oh, actually."
Mm.
That is really interesting
Mm.
perspective. I hadn't really acknowledged it. It's so normal now for us to have babies in our mid to late 30s, and our parents are, hitting their
Yeah.
70s, and
Yeah.
they're tired. They might have illness. They're older. They aren't able to be like necessarily be the hands-on grandparents that we might
Mm.
have got if we'd done it earlier. So I
Mm.
really liked his take on that. Puts it a bit, back on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we it's lovely to see them. We do get to spend time together.
It's nice for the kids to see
Oh yeah,
grandparents and to
they
have them
absolutely
present in
love
their
them.
lives. That's so important for them.
Yeah, they love
Uh,
them.
what have you learned from Mom Katrina?
I think my number one lesson that has been such a big part of my life as a mum is that my mum always made me believe that being a mum wasn't a lesser choice to having a career. That becoming a mum was interesting, that it was intellectually stimulating, and she was proud of it. And that's how I was brought up. My mum is, very intelligent. She's very well read. She's a really curious, interesting person, and we were surrounded by books and we had interesting conversations. I remember, my mum talking to us about art and music and nature, and it never seemed to me that motherhood had compromised her sense of herself
Mm-hmm.
in terms of being an interesting, intelligent woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, I carried that with me. And when I became a mum, I didn't struggle with that identity change. I didn't feel I lost my identity. Being a mum had always seemed a fully rounded, life choice. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I went into motherhood feeling full of curiosity about my baby and about the experience of becoming a mother. And my mum always treated us as humans, as full humans,
Yeah.
and who
Yeah.
were worthy of interesting conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
it never seemed that having a baby would be boring to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have found it interesting. I think most parts of life have a lot of boring things about them. Working a professional job in an office in journalism had moments of incredible
Mm.
boredom. So I suppose my point is that motherhood, I sense it has a bad sort of reputation for being boring, for being not intellectual, not intellectually challenging, and I haven't found that has been my experience. And I do think it's my mum that I have to thank for that.
Mm. But it's interesting because I hear things are what you make them, what you make out of them. So you can sink into motherhood and be like, we'll only talk about, I don't know, cartoons and Legos. Or you can go into motherhood and be like, hey, let's explore the world. So it's interesting, very interesting perspective.
Yes, we we do show we don't replay nursery rhymes, and I don't know if it's chicken or egg. The kids ask for like the music that is around them, like the records.
Yeah.
My husband really likes house music, so they want to put house music on their little music player. And
Yeah.
so, and there's definitely been times when I'm like, let's do Row the Boat, and they're going Daft Punk. And it makes, maybe that sounds like kind of hipster and a bit pretentious, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
think kids are pretty open to
Mm-hmm.
culture, and if you want to be surrounded by culture that you like, just bring the kids with
Absolutely.
you, and they like it.
I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, that's how I raised my son as well. Um, Tell me about the birth story. This was an interesting lesson.
It's an interesting lesson because I think you might think it was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up hearing my own the story of the birth of me, my
Mm-hmm.
mum's birth story, because it was quite traumatic for her.
Oh.
She was in labor for like 72 hours or
Mm-hmm.
something horrendous. And I know that's quite normal, but it was really, really painful. And basically towards the end, I was stuck, and my head, I have a huge head. It's like a hereditary big head. And I was stuck. And this being 1981, the hospital were, I mean, I think it was kind of like the, bare basics, like forceps, tie woman down. Oh, you're too late for pain relief. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I was pulled out. It was, it's a really extreme, it's a really damaging experience. So I heard this story again and again, and it definitely made me probably a little bit afraid of birth in some ways, or just aware. Yeah, I think the reason I think it's a lesson is that it made me aware of how a birth can maybe go wrong. And when it came time when it became my turn to give birth,
Mm-hmm.
and I was induced, and that didn't really trigger contractions or start my labor. And the doctors began to give me sort of cervix checks that I found really, really rough, really
I
painful.
saw them in your book,
Yeah, and
yes.
they would like put gas and air mask on me, and then I was hallucinating, and I thought I died, and I thought they'd killed me, and I was really disturbed and distressed by this experience, and nothing was happening. And the doctor said, okay, we can give you some harsher
Mm-hmm.
drugs now
Mm-hmm.
that will induce the labor. Could take a few days. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do this. I don't feel physically safe. The way you're hurting,
Mm-hmm.
you're hurting me, and I don't like how rough you are, and I don't want my body to be damaged by this labor that isn't happening on its own. So I chose to have a cesarean section at that point and kind of regained some control. And I think that I'm grateful for my mum sharing her story so that I could be forewarned that
Mm-hmm.
births don't always go to plan, and that I can make a choice to try and protect one part of my body. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my son had my head shape.
Oh, okay. So he
Born
was
with this
also very.
He was born with this huge head, and he was 9 pounds, and he was really chunky. And,
Mm.
the midwives, we all looked at him and they went, I think it was for the best that you had a C-section. And I was like, yes, me too. So I know it can be really hard for women and for pregnant people to hear birth stories that have gone wrong or been really traumatic. But it's really important for us to be aware of what can go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think the hospitals have quite got birth right. I think it's very medicalized. Women
Yes, yeah.
are often in really hostile, settings, which are cold, hard. They're making you go sit in a waiting room for hours. You're stressed, and your cervix isn't maybe not opening. So yeah, I think while we don't have like ideal birth circumstances, it's probably good to know, so that
Mm-hmm.
you can have that knowledge when something's not working, or something's going wrong. So yeah, I'm thankful to my mum for that.
It's so interesting, Becky, because I again have a very different experience with this. My mom also told me about my birth and how traumatic that was. But I'm assuming now the difference was that my mom generally liked telling me her suffering stories. I maybe even victimizing herself in so many different shapes and forms that it became like one more thing when mom was a victim, but also I felt a little guilty. My whole life I felt a little guilty that she went through this because of me. I don't know if
That's
you
so
had that, but
interesting. Yeah.
maybe because it came in package with all these other stories. It's like, oh, mom
Mm.
had such a tough life, and then I came and
Yeah,
I even the birth was so hard for her. So
that's hard. Yeah,
it's interesting how you present these stories and how they're packaged. Maybe I don't know how else in which context they're
definitely.
being said.
Yeah, I didn't feel guilty, and I think that's so interesting, and it can
That's
show
interesting.
how
Yeah,
different someone's interpretation of a story or an experience can be,
yeah.
depending on how they react to it. I think I felt a mistrust in medicine.
Medicine, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and I
understand. I
thought,
understand.
okay, I understood, and my mum explained to me that medical settings could be in a way misogynist. She didn't use
Yeah,
that word, but
yeah, yeah.
I guess that's what I took away from it. They didn't listen to her. They didn't
Mm,
help her. They denied her pain relief.
mm-hmm.
And I think it did help me have this kind of inner resolve during my birth that if it wasn't happening naturally, it hadn't begun, I wasn't going to force it. I wasn't going to have my body ripped open in the vagina. I had it ripped open
Yeah,
in the abdomen
yeah,
instead
yeah,
by
yeah.
people, yeah, with knives.
Mm. No, it's so interesting that you took the lesson of agency over your own body and your birth experience, and
Yeah.
that's yeah,
Mm. Well,
fantastic.
I also understood from a young age that birth and labor can have like lifelong consequences for
Yeah.
your kind of pelvic organs,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, how everything functions. And I think, again, I really wanted to avoid that. And I felt that sort of medicalized birth that was being kind of forced on me by doctors was more likely to have long-term consequences for my like continence and, vaginal
Yeah.
wall.
Here's a funny story. When I was 15, I had a very complicated scoliosis back surgery. So when I was pregnant, I called my doctor who inserted this long rod into my spine. And I said, okay, I'm going to have a baby. What do you suggest? And it was, I love this man so much. He saved my life. And I've known him since I was 15. And he said, Anna, I have so many children, grandchildren, and I'm a doctor. I've seen so many births. He said, listen, A, I don't think it's good for you with the rod in your spine to even try giving birth, but B, just do a C-section. So that goes hand in hand with what you're saying. He was just like, don't even try. Just,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And when a doctor tells you that, a
Yeah.
man and a doctor is like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I know I was definitely, my generation was surrounded by positive birth stories and the positive vaginal birth movement. And so I did, think, oh, that would be lovely in the water bath, in the lovely,
yeah, 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 yeah.
bath. And, but yeah, it just wasn't happening. And I think
No.
it's completely valid to not want to be incontinent.
Mm, mm.
Or, if you could choose, yeah, that's a big deal and to risk other
Yeah,
complications.
definitely. Becky, let's go to the last lesson.
So I'm very grateful to my mum because she taught me how to build a cozy home. And I I guess it was so normal that I didn't even know it was special when I was little. And our home was cozy because it was always safe, really. We had dinner at the same time every day. There was a regular routine. My mum kind of was there like giving us a bath, and we had a regular bedtime, and we had stories at bedtime, and story tapes, and we'd watch telly together as a family on Sunday night. And I learned like how important routine can be for
Mm.
making children feel secure. um
But
and
Becky, I'm sorry
yeah,
to interrupt you. Grown-ups as well. I think we
Yeah.
all like routine. We all feel
Yes.
safe and relaxed and good when we have a certain
It's
routine.
it's so
Sorry, I
true.
interrupted you.
Not at all. And as a kid, I think I'd sometimes feel really claustrophobic because of this routine. And I wanted to be wild. And I had
Hmm.
other family, other relatives who'd go to festivals or stay up late and have everything be off and wild. And that really appealed to me. And I do still have that in my nature. I still love to do things that are a bit wild and up and break the routine. But I definitely know how to re-anchor myself with the
Hmm.
routine after I've had a wild adventure. So I am grateful for that, and it's quite
Hmm.
it's really helpful. I think when you as you get older, understanding about routine and being able to slot back into that is a very useful for like working and being sort of functional adult. And the other thing that my mum did that made our home so cozy is have lots of lamps everywhere. And as you can see, here is a
I
lamp.
see you have a beautiful lamp. Yeah.
Lamp. My home was lit by lamplight, and when I got older, I went to houses where people use the overhead light with a lampshade, and it's so cold.
I know. My husband and I have these discussions for 15 years of our marriage. He's the guy who turns, click on the wall and then the overhead light goes on and he's happy. And I'm like, oh my God, this drives me insane. It's like I don't know, waiting room in a train station.
Exactly, or like an interrogation room or something. It's just awful. And
Yeah,
I can't believe people can live with an overhead light shining
I know.
brightly on them. So my mum's house is full of lamps and lovely soft golden light in every corner. And it's the same in my house. And people sometimes say when they visit us, your home is very cozy. And I'm pretty sure it's because of our great collection of lamps.
Yeah, that's cute. And we have to put English weather into that. Maybe it's different
Yes.
if you live somewhere like Rome. Maybe you don't need cozy light, but
It's always raining here. It's
yeah.
unusually dark, so lamps are extremely important.
Becky, what is something you wish she had taught you? I'm sorry, did you have any other lessons or can we jump into this one?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to jump.
Okay.
Well, what I
You
was
can.
going to say for what I wish I'd been taught was my mum, I think, maybe did a little bit too much for us, actually. And
Mm,
I never noticed my bedding being changed. It
mm.
just was done. I didn't notice the house being cleaned. It just got done by my mum magically when I was at school, I guess. And unfortunately, when I left home, I was kind of a slob. And actually, I don't think that is a good way to leave home. I went to university and I lived with some housemates, and I was disgusting. I didn't help to clean the house. I was not a good housemate. I couldn't cook anything. And so I lived for about a year on sausage and scrambled eggs. And I got very bad stomach ache eventually after that and had to learn how to fry an onion. I didn't change my bedding because I just didn't even know that that was a thing. And I was at the end of the term, I took my sheet off and was like, this is a strange colour. It's grey.
Oh.
And I had this moment thinking, oh my God, like I'm so immature and I'm so sheltered from
Mm,
life. Like I don't know about washing my own bedding. Of course you have to wash your own bedding. It's like clothes that you wear.
mhm.
And it was just, I guess, a moment when I realized I was kind of a child and I hadn't grown up. And so my mum's so kind. She just does, work so hard for others. But with my own kids, I'm trying to get them to take part in housework.
Great. I just wanted to ask about this. This is so
Yeah,
important we do that.
I
Because
know.
sometimes it's easier to do it yourself. I'm sometimes guilty of that. I'm just like, you know what? I'll just fold this laundry because I can't be bothered now.
It's
But it's
so
so, oh,
it's so much easier to do it yourself.
yeah, yeah.
It's Oh God, it's like a battleground with the kids. They don't obviously really want to help out. One's a bit better than the other one, but they don't want to do it. They want to just play or chill or watch telly,
Yeah,
and
of course.
they're
Yeah.
very tired. And I have to say, I'm very tired as well.
Yeah.
But I'm, making them do it, and I'm recently experimenting with a sort of little, financial incentive of £1. They're young enough
Hmm.
that they think £1 is incredible,
Hmm.
so they get £1. And the other day, I invited them to help me clean the kitchen floor, and I somehow managed to turn it into a fun game. So I filled up the sink with bubbly water, and I told them they could plunge towels in and make it wet. And then we all ran around the floor with the wet towels to wash it. And they joined in. It
Hmm.
was really sweet. They were
Hmm.
like, I don't know if you've seen the film Spirited Away, but there's a scene when the little
Yes.
girl in
Yeah.
it cleans the floor,
Yeah.
and she has her hands on the ground and her
Yes.
legs on the
Yeah.
ground, and they ran, and they were like that kid. They ran up and down the kitchen with drying the floor. So it's possible, and it's just a bit of a
Mm.
challenge that I've set myself. But I don't want my kids to leave home and be bad housemates like I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
I want
I
them
know.
to understand their role in a group. So yeah,
Not only that, but we're raising boys, and
yeah,
it's so important that they do not expect that women do everything. That
hmm,
it's the woman, the mother or the wife that does things, and this is why I think it's so important for me, for my son,
yeah,
to force my husband to also do participate, so
yeah,
he witnesses this. He has to see his dad cook dinners and clean dishes and things like that, and be that he also participates. I
yeah,
think we owe
definitely.
it to the future, women in their lives.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I really, really, it was really important to me. I want I'm so lucky. My husband is also working from home, and so we split all the chores, and none
Mm.
of us want to do the chores. We all, but we're doing it together, and they see him doing the laundry and clearing up as well. And yeah, but it's just really important for me for that my children grow up understanding that everyone else, others exist, and it's not just them. They're not like
Exactly.
he's the center of
Yeah.
the universe. That
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone has needs. Everybody's tired. Nobody wants to do the dishes, so we all share it, and it makes it fair. So that's the goal.
Mm. Becky, you had another lesson for something you wish she taught you. Did
Yeah.
you still want to talk about this, or do you want to
Yeah, I
let
did.
this?
I did. I thought of it after and I couldn't
Okay.
decide. So my family are fiery, I would say. We are emotionally, we kind of emotional people. Have outbursts, very loud. We argue, we fight, we scream at each other. Conflict resolution is not very good. And I grew up and the house would have lots of arguing and fighting in it. And I was fully upfront in that, taking part. And it was, it's really disturbing, and it doesn't everyone feels horrible afterwards. And I just don't think that I was sort of taught anything about emotional regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So with my own kids, I am trying really hard to create a calmer home where we talk through our problems, and we don't bring like fight with each other all the time. And it's really, I think they call it breaking the cycle.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
is it working? Because I, being Croatian originally, this is what my family is like. It's
Oh,
like
that's really,
explosions.
yeah. Yeah.
How are you managing? Do you think
How
you're
is breaking
managing?
the cycle going? It's
Yeah.
really hard. It's really, really, really difficult. I thought that if I was the calm one, that would break the cycle.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
the
But
kids fight with each other, and they attack me. It's ridiculous. Sometimes, for no reason at all, they'll just attack us, and they'll be screaming at us and hitting us and kicking us, and we're having to restrain them, and it is just
oh.
really awful. And you get upset when someone's kicking and punching you. It makes you feel really upset, and so then I have to be like breathing through it. And sometimes my husband and I will have to leave the room and just leave, and we're all working on it. It's a work in progress. And I do, if I shout, I'm always really, really sorry afterwards, and I'll own it, and I'll say to the kids, that must have been really scary when I shouted, and I'm really, really sorry. And try to explain to them about, people have limits, and
Hmm.
they have a sort of a certain amount of tolerance for conflict and frustration, and if it goes over that, they might explode. So try to teach them to recognize when someone's reaching their limit, and hopefully all of this conversation will have a positive effect. But I have no idea, because it's just my little experiment with trying
Yeah.
to change the family dynamics to be more healthier. But yeah, it's really hard trying to sort of break the cycle and not resort to yelling, authoritarian parenting, screaming. And, in the 80s, like, punishing kids was so normal. Everyone was smacked, and it was a really, a different time for parenting. So loads of my friends are also trying to break the cycle, and it's exhausting. And I feel we all deserve a prize. But maybe the prize will be a generation of more functioning adults that are more peaceful and mature. And possibly some of the world's problems have to do with some really terrible parenting
I
of
love
the
that.
world's leaders.
Let's save the world. Let's
Who
change the world through our
Who
children.
knows? Maybe if we teach children conflict resolution
Yeah.
in a peaceful, mature way, they
Yeah.
will grow up and
Yeah.
and change the world. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Becky, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you
And
so much.
such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I'm so excited you were here. I will put a link to your book and your website in episode notes so my listeners can find you easily. And thank you again. Please continue bringing joy into our lives.
Oh, thank you. I will. And we will have to keep in touch. You'll tell me what it's like to move to the countryside, and we
I
can
will do.
stories. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyouMama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.